What's good, everybody? So this is gonna be the second one for today. Let me set up a little bit here. All right, maybe that's a little bit better. Set up a little bit here. All right, so I wanted to have a conversation. Ask a quick question. Well, first of all, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share. I'm not exactly sure if I'm gonna make this members only or not, but we'll see how it goes. Just in case I don't, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that kind of good stuff. All right, so let's jump into it here. So I wanted to ask a question, and I mean this with all sincerity. I think I've asked this question before, but the question keeps coming up, or the proposition keeps coming up, or the problem keeps coming up. It hasn't been adequately addressed yet, and that is, what's wrong with the question of what you bring to the table? Why does this have such a vitriolic response from the ladies? And you have to understand that this question that men are asking, what do you bring to the table? What is the benefits of you coming into my life? What benefits are you going to have coming into my life? Is simply a response to the current climate and environment that we're operating in. 100 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, even during our ancestors' time, my ancestors' time, and slavery, we knew what a wife was. We knew what the purpose of marriage was. We knew what a husband was. Everybody had roles, responsibilities, and duties. We all understood it. 1960s, but they said, forget all that. We want to do exactly what the men do. We don't want to be stuck inside doing women's work. We want to do other things. We want to be, instead of marrying doctors and lawyers, we want to become doctors and lawyers. Okay, cool. But the answer, so then the question has now become, so you've upset the apple cart, turned over at the table. You don't want to do that anymore. Okay, so what is it now that you bring that you bring to me? I was listening to April Mason, who is a relationship expert, and she was on a podcast called Hardly Initiated. I did another episode or podcast about this. So what I wanted to have a discussion about is what she was talking about on the show, and I clipped some of it for another episode. So if it's in my trash bin, I'll clip it. But if not, I don't know if I'm going to try to clip it again. I don't know. Anyway, so what she was saying was, April Mason, this relationship guru, was saying that men ought to level up. This is the best time for men. This is her words. I'm not saying I agree with this philosophy, but it's interesting. This is the best time for men because you were before had your sole role and purpose was protect and provider. So now you got to figure out, we as men have to figure out what we're doing, where we're going, how we're living, how we're moving. What else do I bring to the table? What else do I bring to a relationship besides protection and provision? Because they can protect themselves and they can provide for themselves. So what else you got?
But a lot of men they don't know their intrinsic values. So they're choosing women based on, okay, because I'm a man, I have this money, I have this influence, I have this power, I should be able to get this. But then as someone who works with these men, and I work with a lot of politicians, rappers, actors, the whole nine, especially my politicians, they're on their third and fourth marriage. And when we get to talk, I find out that they chose a woman that was good for where they were. And they just needed a body to fill a space in that moment. She's good for on my arm, she's good for business. But, and I say this, most men who are successful spent all of their time becoming successful and they never develop their own relationship capital outside of their penis, their pockets, and their ability to protect. They don't know anything else. So while you are looking at these women, I will ask, what's your relationship capital outside of what you can do, outside of your bank account, outside of the fact that, okay, you can protect. Well, we don't need protection all the time because you're not with us all the time. So you can't protect us 24 hours a day. So what else do you have that qualifies you to say, okay, I'm becoming more successful, I should be able to maybe get another woman up here. But if you took all the success, the money, the assets away, who is Ryan? And what do women want you outside of it?
Okay. What else you got? Why can't we ask the same thing of women? Why is it such a turnoff? Why is it such a ridiculous question? I think the answer to that is because they don't know what it is. They don't know what it is. And I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm saying that because you never had to think about it before. Just like men. Okay, that was my role, protect and provide. But you know what? You're right. You don't need me for protection. You got the police. You got the military. You can buy your own firearms. Okay. You can buy a dog. Buy an alarm system. You don't really need me. Granted. You got good jobs, good education. Women are now, on the rise, or out earning men and all this kind of stuff. Okay, you don't need me for those two things. So, in essence, I would actually agree. If you want to be in a relationship, what else you got? What else you going to bring to the table? What else is a man going to bring to the table? So then, why does the question bother women so much? So again, I was watching April Mason. She said she had this book that was out, and I went and looked for the book because it's something like I can't remember. I put the screenshot up. There's like 100 hidden things that women do that for men that nobody realizes, or something like that. I think the title of the book will tell you that it's something like invisible. If it's invisible, then nobody sees it. Right. So you're telling me that this stuff is going on behind the scenes, but I don't know what's going on, and I don't realize it's happening. Now, I wanted to read the book, so I went over to her website and was about to buy the book, but you got to put in. I hate to sound lazy about this, but you have to put in. Sign up for this, that, and the other, and put not only my email address, but put in my information. Create a password. I just want to buy a book. I just want to read a book. I mean, I'm going to support you with my money. Just why? Okay. And supposedly it's 100 things, and it sounds like a fascinating read because apparently all this stuff is going on that we don't recognize is going on as men. And we're talking about in the context of relationship, not women in general, not women out in the world, women in a relationship. What is she doing to you, for you, with you, and that is providing you with excellence and moving you up her mere presence? And of course, she was saying, and you can read some of the captions, right? Grace and intelligence and motivation and all this stuff. Now, again, I haven't read the book because I can't. Because I'm not gonna create a password to buy a book. I'm just done. I'm just over that kind of stuff. I haven't looked for it in Amazon. If it's on Amazon, I'll buy it. Okay. The issue that I have with there's a couple of issues. First is the title. It's invisible. Okay, you're telling me what's going on, and I don't know about it. The second thing is, isn't it obvious that men have survived without this stuff, whatever the grace, intelligence, motivational? Men have built the world. What are you talking about? Men have built the world. Yes. There are men who have had great women who have pushed them, motivated them to become the best version of themselves, who give them reason and purpose and passion, muses, all that stuff. I absolutely 100% agree with that. But why is it so hard and so difficult to tell? And why does April Mason have to write a book telling women and men what those benefits are? Shouldn't they be axiomatic? Shouldn't they be automatic? Everybody knows that prior to the 1950s, 1960s, even today, that most women want a leader, protector, provider, and all this from a man. That's what they want a man to bring to the table. His finances, his protection, his swag, his social and emotional intelligence, so he can lead this family and take us to where we need to go and have vision, direction, and guidance. No woman anywhere has any problem saying that. But what you ask a woman what that is, and you sound sassy, you sound ridiculous. How come you don't know? What are you talking about? Didn't your mother have to bring this to the table? Because you're in full rejection of the past, full rejection of the way that things used to be, and you don't want to do those things anymore. Let me sit up. So being in full rejection of those types of things, you don't want to do them anymore. And so you look at this, so it seems as if this question is completely antagonistic, but it's not. If I'm going to allow you into my life, what is it that I'm going to expect? I'm going to bring you something. I'm going to bring you some things that admittedly you probably don't need anymore. But that's what I got to offer: protection, provision, leadership, guidance. That's what I got. That's what I got. And I think that's the vast majority of what most men got. This is what we got, right? Okay, so what do you got? Okay, before men would get home cooked meals, a domesticated woman who understood to take care of the home, how to do that. Women saying they don't want to do that anymore. Okay, we can buy DoorDash, Uber, we can get a house cleaner. Okay, and you're asking the men, what else you got besides that? I'm gonna tell you right now, Big Al don't got nothing. But this isn't about me. This ain't about me. This is about you and what you ought to be bringing to the table. So I'm asking a question. Well, I'm asking two questions. Why is that question such a turnoff Why is that question such a problem? And what do you bring? I mean, just answer the question. And it ought to be automatic. It's almost like it ought to be automatic. Wait a minute, you don't know? Okay, well, no, we don't know because we knew what it was at one time. You've changed the tables, you've changed the parameters, you've changed the contract, the social contract, you've changed others. So what is it now that we're supposed to? What is it now that I'm going to get? What is it now that I'm going to get? And I mean earnestly, sincerely. What is it now I'm going to get? Am I going to get home cooked meals? Am I going to get text? Am I going to get a listening ear? I mean, what is it? And according to April Mason, there's 100 things that women are doing or at least that a good woman was going to do that you ought to understand. Okay. Well, if it was 100 things and it wasn't invisible, then we would all know what it is. Men would be able to clearly see it. Oh, yeah, there she is. She's performing X. Oh, there she is performing number 76. Oh, there's number 49 right there of the 100 things that are obvious. Obvious, but yet invisible. So listen, I'm asking a question. Why is this such a big deal? Why is this, why is this a problem? And just tell us once and for all. Make a bunch of videos about it. Here's what it is. Write a blog, a blurb, write a book. Well, April Mason did write a book, but and listen, I'm genuinely interested in reading this book because maybe there's something out there. Now, listen, and is it something that we don't need? Listen, I've maintained that men and women today do not need each other. I think that you got to want each other. You got to need each other. And I had a debate one time with a young lady, and we were debating this. Right? She said, and she was adamant that when a woman wants you, then she'll be more apt to stay with you. I said that's absolutely the opposite thing. When they need you, that's when they're going to stay with you. And she's like, well, do you want a woman who's going to be handicapped and going to need you? I'm just saying that, which is a fair argument, but I'm saying that this want stuff, you can unwant me one day. You can find somebody better one day. You can wake up and decide, okay, I'm going to move to Montana one day, right? Because you just want to be there. You become subject to whims. And that negates duty. Duty is obligation, sense of honor, and all that. And if you don't have a sense of honor and a sense of obligation, then you can be apt to leave at any time. And listen, that's your right. That's your prerogative. You're a big person. You're a grown adult. You do what you want to do. But why should I sign up for this contract, knowing that there's a chance that it's going to be broken, and I might suffer some financial ruin and or heartache? Why should I sign up for that? So. I'm waiting to hear this answer as to what it is, and how we move forward with this. Because I think that's one thing we got to solve. You want to fix families, fix relationships. You got to figure out what you want in each other and what you need in each other. You got to figure out what you want in each other and what you need in each other. And if you can't figure that out, if you're having questions, you're having doubts, and you're just unsure as to what that means and what that looks like and what that's going to be, that's an issue. That is an issue. That is an issue that we got to solve. So, have men survived without wisdom, without grace, without charity, without whatever other else things? Yeah, we've been building the world. We've been making moves. We've been building cars. We've been buying houses. We have been. Listen, I completed my doctorate when I was divorced. What are we talking about here? I don't know what we're talking about. But again, I got to read the book because it's plainly obvious. I just don't know what it is, right? So, and listen, I have male friends, my friends, who say, listen, they couldn't do anything with their wives. Okay, well, what's tangibly, that's not invisible, is she doing? And most of the time, when the friends that I have who speak like this, their wives are very much the supporter role at home. Their wives are the supporter roles at home, keeping the household together. Now, sure, she lends guidance. She's a confidant. She lends wisdom, but she's also her main, and it's not her main visible tasks, job is homemaker. Those are the ones that I talk to. These guys are all busy. They're working overtime. They're doing whatever. They're buying houses and their wives are maintaining their homes. But a lot of ladies say they don't want to do that anymore. Okay, so what is it that's tangible, that is visible, that I can point to, that I can measure, that is that? And why is this such a big why is this such a problem? Well, you ought to just know and just that. 2 words. Gas lighting. All right, let me know your thoughts, your opinions. What am I missing about this? Hit me in the comment section. I'm not sure when I'm going to make this members only or not. Probably not. I didn't go too hard into it, so it might be out there for the general public. All right, much love and peace.